Hi, I'm Harrison Taylor, and this is my Module 3, where I interviewed a special education teacher, an administrator, and a para in their regards to with special education at the school. Um, okay. The first question was about child find procedures. The teacher I talked to, talked about how since I work at the high school, we work at the high school, we don't do a lot of this. Usually it's a recommendation or maybe somebody notices a student in class and maybe slipped through the cracks. And then maybe we see a student who we think, maybe would qualify. Then we're going to do, testing through the school psychologist and see if that is a fit or not. Um, and so I can kind of relate to this as also a special education teacher, that, this is mostly at the elementary level. For the administrator, usually they're going to first starts with talk with a school psychologist, go through a history of that student's record in school, and that can tell a lot, especially students coming from out of state. The school psychologists have a lot of access to that kind of information, which helps them out a lot. And the paraeducators really don't have anything going on with this. And, I think about how the teachers ultimately are a lot of times the people who kind of identify these people, especially when they do kind of slip through the cracks, and then the administrator helps kind of facilitate gathering that data and those kinds of things. Okay. My second question, the most challenging part of it, for a teacher, it is making sure the paperwork is, done correctly. It can be pretty stressful at times here in our district, just making sure you dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and that your paperwork is correct from a legal standpoint. For the administrator, the hardest part is that the teacher is kind of the leader, and so it's a different role for the principal in that experience a lot of times. And then they've got to really make sure they trust the experts and know their building, so they can make sure that they help assist putting the student in the best situation to put them, make them successful. So it can be challenging because they're not, leading that as much. And then for the paraeducators, most challenging part would just, really be transitions. And sometimes it can be lack of instruction if, we don't get enough message on a change or something like that. Sometimes they have to pass from one student to the next from a different para. And so they may not know that there was an issue with that student in the former class, and that can be a problem if they don't know about that. And then also the parents have to travel from block to block and try to keep up with all the information that the teachers have and things like that. So, definitely different challenges for each group. And you can kind of see the things that are difficult for teachers, administrators, and paras in this scenario with special education. The third question, the most rewarding part of their job. Teacher talked about parents and students thanking the teacher, appreciating what they do, and then you can really see a difference in the student making those connections and having a lot of success. The administrator, seeing the relationships form with teachers, students, parents, even paras as well, and how they kind of become part of the family. Teachers a lot of times because they get so close to them. And my administrator talked about how he wished that all students had a person like this to keep them connected and stay on top of them and make this really great relationship with the student. And then paraeducators, student connections again, definitely a theme. They a lot of times it can be a lot more personal than the teachers because they're working so close with those students, and it's not always receiving information, and it's just a lot different role than a teacher, so they can get a lot closer to students at times. And then also collaborating with teachers with success, so working with the teachers to have a great school day and have the students have success and all those things. The fourth question is what advice to give supervision of special education staff. And the teacher said that they really prefer, very little supervision unless there's some issue. Having trust in the teachers is really important for them to do their jobs, especially as they're, typically the experts in the building in special education. And then for the administrator, you have to make the supervision a priority because sometimes it gets pushed to the back burner, especially when they have so many things to do, and make sure that they're willing and able and have a plan to deal with issues that arise and not just push them off on teachers or SPED administration, making sure that they all work together and take on those bigger things. So, and then for the paraeducator, um, you know, make sure there's clear expectations and training so that they're prepared and things go well. So obviously you can kind of see the trickle down effect a little bit here. Um, and, it's interesting. I think all of them want a focus on special education, and then obviously the teachers want to be respected as far as leaders in the building. Uh, the fifth question, how do they work effectively with parents of special needs children? So the teacher, the teacher I talked to always said you got to balance the positive with the negative. So, she kind of talked about um, if you're, delivering, bad news or maybe students struggling in class, you got to find something positive, get balance there and keep that positive relationship. And then also you got to make sure you're reaching out to parents as often as possible and making yourself available for communication. When you work as a team, it helps out a lot with parents and administrators and all that. And then for administrators, they believe that you can work with special education students and parents just exactly the same or very similar to general education. And the biggest thing is just communicating, staying on top of it. There shouldn't be any surprises. He kind of went on and talked about that. And then for the paraeducator, they have almost little to no contact with parents, so they have to make sure that they are talking to the teacher that is a case manager for the student so that the teacher can communicate that to parents and get that message across. Um, okay, and then also how do they work with regular ed, or I say gen ed a lot, teachers with students with special needs? So the teacher said, she said face to face a lot better. There's no mixed messages. You get the right information. You can ask questions right there. That helps a lot. And then to keep in mind the gen ed teachers. Information is extremely important to that child and how they're responding in class, and that can give you a lot of insight that maybe some data can't quite give you. With the administrator, got to make sure that you set up some communication between SPED teachers and the staff to make sure that the gen ed teachers know what accommodations, modifications, what is needed for the student, and make sure that they're working together on that. And then the paraeducator, they at the beginning of the school year talking about how they have to make sure they go and talk to the teacher of the class they're in, make sure they know the guidelines of the class, expectations, how they can help. If there's any rules they really need to know about, that's really important. And then making sure to communicate with teachers and talking about issues with students to keep on top of that. And, big theme is communication, being able to talk and work as a team collaboratively is really important. Okay. Advice for a first-year administrator, the teacher said, it's really important for the administrator to support the teachers. So, to have their back when maybe a difficult situation or a student behavior arises, they've got to be there, ready to do it. And then also trusting the teachers, to do what they need to do. And then the administrator said, as a first-year administrator, there's a lot of things going on, may be real difficult, but to, do your best, stay positive, trust your instincts, use the people in your building to help you. So special education teachers and school psychologists and a lot of different people can help you have that success that you need. And then the paraeducator talked about making sure that you're proactive with training paras and supporting issues of students and things like that. So, administrator talked about really being positive, and then both the teacher and the paraeducator and using your experts. And the teacher and paraeducator talked about, being willing to help out when issues arise in class and things that, they really need that administrative backing on. Okay. The role of the SPED teacher and the building principal, their role. So the admin needs to be present at the IEP meetings. The teacher said that. Um, and because you can't have the meeting without that LEA present and being there to support and field questions from parents at times, things like that. And then they've got to be able to help with the discipline issues that students have. For the administrator, got to empower the SPED teachers to lead, and work with them to run that department and take it on and do what's right for students. And then being having that open communication with the teachers to get the information that you need to help make decisions is really important. And then the paraeducator talked about how important it is to build the relationship with students, and provide services to make sure that everything's happening. And then their role, also the administrator need to assist the paraeducator in issues they can't handle. So big discipline issues, things like that, they need to help with. And really, the administrator or the teacher and the para need to be have the administrator available when things that kind of out of their wheelhouse come up to help with. And administrator needs to make sure they facilitate and help allow these people to do their jobs effectively. And then also, what characteristics do they seek in aspiring administrators? So the teacher said the big thing is they just need the SPED team included in building decisions. When they're left out, it's a problem for the SPED department, and sometimes SPED can be the forgotten group, and she really mentioned that. So we got to make sure that they're included. And the administrator, he recommended, got to be caring and compassionate, willing to ask questions, a team player, and patient. So the big thing is, be willing to be flexible, working with others, and that, collaboration is just such a must now. And then with the paraeducator, they talked about having ability to communicate and provide feedback and creating a team atmosphere. So they want to know how they're doing and how things are going, and what they can do better so that they can fix any issues that happen, and just keep striving to improve. And then working as a team is really important. So really in 21st century, I'll talk about collaborative things, being able to work together, and that's huge for the administrator to be able to help foster that, and including all the groups. So overall, I think this was a really good project for me to be able to dive in and see different perspectives on things. Quite a bit different from para to administrator to teacher, and all that. And the big thing is you just have to be willing to, as an administrator, make time for the special education issues that come up, and also be able to instill that collaborative environment and make sure that everybody's on the same page, that they're going to do what's best for kids, and really come together to make sure that happens.